Hello everyone, welcome to MVP Vishwakosha. Today we are discussing 15 October 2025 current affairs. In that first point, that is about recent IMF statement, that is by Kristalina Georgieva on the Indian economy. So recent that IMF in its October 2025 World Economic Outlook update has increased India's GDP growth forecast from 2025-26 to 6.6%. Okay, from 6.4% despite a headwind like US tariffs and also. And also for 2026, the forecast is slightly slower at 6.2%. And also, she praises that is for India's reforms, digital strategy, and structural changes. Kristalina Georgieva has publicly commended India for its bold structural reforms, particularly in digital infrastructure. That is, example, Aadhaar, digital payment, and also tax reforms. That is, changes in income tax and GST slabs and policy implementation. She said everyone told India that digital identity on a mass scale could not be done, but India proved them wrong. And also, she also referred to India as a key growth engine in the shifting pattern of global growth, and also in global context that IMF note that global growth is being held by the trade policy uncertainty, example of US tariff action. And also Georgieva emphasized the need for G20 nations to prioritize debt issues. Okay, and also she also warned about fragility in the global economy, potential shocks, and fact that the resilience observed so far. So very important that India's growth, resilience, structural reforms, external vulnerability, debt sustainability, all that perspective is very important. Okay, so that is about recent statement by that IMF, that is Kristalina Georgieva. Next news, that is about recent news on retail inflation in India registering that is 1.54% in September. So in September 2025, India's retail inflation, that is CPI based, slowed sharply to 1.54% year on year. So this is the lowest rate in over 8 years since June 2017, and is well below the lower bound of Reserve Bank of India's tolerance band, that is of 2% to 6%. That is very important. That is actually the tolerance band, 2% to 6%. And also the August 2025 retail inflation was 2.07%. So there has been a clear deceleration of it is food inflation. A major component entered deflation territory, that is negative at a minus 2.28% in September. And also geographical in September, rural inflation was about 1.07% and urban inflation, that is 2.04%. Meanwhile, core inflation, that is excluding food and energy, that is volatile item, was at 4.5% in September, up from 4.1% in August. And in the wholesale domain, inflation also cold, that is recorded 0.13% in September, down from 0.52% in August, largely driven by easing food and fuel prices. Very important that indicate begin inflation price stability. A retail inflation of 1.54% implies markedly lower price pressures in the economy. And also role of food and agriculture sector, divergence between headline and core inflation, monetary policy inflation, all that perspective is very important. So that is about recent news on inflation and the economy. Next news, that is about 2025 Nobel Prize in Economics. So the 2025 Nobel Memorial Prize in Economics Science, that is officially that was awarded to Joel Mokyr, Philip Aghion, and Peter Howitt for having explained innovation-driven economic growth. And half of the prize went to Joel Mokyr for identifying the prerequisites for sustained growth through technological progress, and other half was shared by that Philip Aghion and Peter Howitt for the theory of sustained growth via creative destruction. The Nobel Committee emphasized that while economic growth over the last 2 centuries has lifted many out of poverty, growth should not be taken for granted. Sustaining it requires preserving the mechanism of innovation and managing of conflict they generate. And also the prize sum is 11 million, that is Swedish krona. Very important that three personalities of awarded, that is Joel Mokyr, Moncure explored the condition under which society can generate and absorb technological knowledge, scientific culture, institution, supportive of innovation, diffusion of knowledge, incentivize, etc. And that other two people, that Philip Fagian and Peter Howitt, they built formal models showing how new innovation firms, technologies displace obstacles at once, driving productivity and growth on industries internally driven. Very important that validation of innovation-led growth, and also institutional and structural reforms are crucial. Managing disruption and competition and openness matter, and policy trade-offs, global relevance, all that perspective. That is 2025 Nobel laureates in economy, very very important. Next point, that is about recent that Gaza peace summit. Okay, in that yellow line, that is ceasefire agreement. A peace summit was convened on that 13th October 2025. Chairman Sheikh Egypt to push forward first phase of peace plan to end Israel-Hamas Gaza war. Right, around 30 countries and international organizations attended. It was co-chaired by Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and former US President Donald Trump. The summit followed ceasefire deal with Israel, and Hamas agreed to the first phase of withdrawal and hostage prisoner exchange. In that key element, release of hostage by Hamas, release of Palestinian prisoners by Israel, Israeli withdrawal to some extent, and humanitarian assist reconstructing planning. However, major content that unresolved issue remain this dismemberment of Hamas, extent of Israel withdrawal, future governance of Gaza, security guarantee, and implementation oversight. And also in that yellow line in ceasefire withdrawal map, in the terms of ceasefire, Israel forces agreed to withdraw from major population center in Gaza to demarcated yellow line. Yellow line is the boundary behind which Israel says its troops will pull back in the first phase. Reportedly, this line leaves Israeli in control about 53% of Gaza territory. Okay, and also Israeli retains a strategic control over much of Gaza under the arrangement, and also the demarcation is crucial because crossing it is considered a violation of the ceasefire. Indeed, Israeli forces have alleged that Palestine violated the ceasefire by crossing the yellow line and approached Israeli position, prompting fires. Okay, very important tensions, violation, fragility, and also that test of ceasefire durability and partial withdrawal control dynamics in that perspective, governance and security in Gaza, humanitarian access and reconstruction. All that perspective it is very very important. Okay, that is about yellow line and recent Gaza peace summit. Next news, that is about Vishwas scheme, that is EPFO, that is related to that. The 238th meeting of the Central Board of Trustees of EPF October 2025, several major reforms were approved. Among the a new Vishwas scheme was launched to reduce litigation under EPF regime, and major EPF reforms approved in that simplification of liberalization of EPF partial withdrawal rules, and also the 13 existing withdrawal provisions have been merged into three broad categories, that is essential needs, that is illness, education, marriage, and housing needs, and special circumstances. Three broad categories. One is essential needs, another one housing needs, and another one special circumstance. And now member can withdraw up to 100% of their eligible EPF balance, including both employee and employer share. And for withdrawals for education, a member can withdraw up to 10 times, for marriage up to 5 times. Earlier limits were much more restrictiveness. Okay. Also, the minimum service requirement for partial withdrawal have been uniformly reduced to 12 months. Under the special circumstance, members need not specify reason anymore. And also new minimum balance requirement, 25% of the contribution must remain in the account to ensure retirement corpus is not fully exhausted. The timeline of final withdrawal have been adjusted. A premature final settlement, that is previously 2 months, extend to 12 months. For final pensions withdrawal, previously 2 months, extend to 36 months. And also launch of Vishwas scheme to reduce litigation. Vishwas scheme is to rationalize penal damages for delayed or remittance and settle legacy litigations. Very important that and also under Vishwas, a flat rate of 1% per month is proposed with the graded structure. Very important that digital service reforms and other related decisions, that is reduction in litigation compliance burden, greater flexibility and liquidity for members. All that perspective it is very very important. Okay, so that is about recent APF for labor schemes and about Vishwas scheme. Next news that is about recent Gen Z that led protest in Madagascar. So in that widespread protest broken in that is Antananarivo, that capital of Madagascar and other cities, originally triggered by persistent water and electricity cuts. So the protest soon expanded in scope and demonstrators and that Gen Z Madagascar began demanding the resignation of by President Andrew Rajoelina, accountability, better governance, and relief from corruption and service failures. And clashes with the police occurred. Authorities used tear gas, stun grenades, rubber bullets, and all. At least 22 people have died and more than 100 injured, according to even and its scoops. Very important that is military unit in that light force defied government orders and joined the protesters. Well, subsequently, President Rajoelina fled Madagascar. Okay, and also the military announced a seizure of power, dissolving major state institution, while the National Assembly impeached Rajoelina and declared as removed. The protesters' subsequent takeover have been seen as a dramatic, youth-driven revolt and a major political crisis in Madagascar. So, in that very important Gen Z protest symbolism, youth and culture, all that perspective, it is very, very important. So, that is about recent Madagascar Gen Z protest. Next news, recent SpaceX Starship test and its outcome. So, SpaceX successfully launched the 11th integrated flight test, IFT-11 of its Starship, that is super heavy rocket from its Starbase facility in Texas. The mission lasted just over an hour. The Starship upper stage reached orbit like a trajectory, released a mock satellite, and also then re-entered, splashed down into Indian Ocean, and also super heavy booster separated as planned, performed a controlled descent and splashed down in the Gulf of Mexico. This test is reported to be the final flight of the current version 2 or Block 2 iteration Starship Super Heavy before SpaceX transition to an upgraded prototype. And also the flight tested several new systems, upgraded heat shield tails, engine relighting. And also, although the rocket performed well, nothing was recovered. Both stages splashed down, but no hardware was retrieved. And also, very important that launch profile and also heat shield tails, all technical and mission details, engine rail, reusability goal, transition of new version, all that perspective it is very important, and also advancement in space technology and commercialization, enabling deep space, lunar, Mars mission, all that perspective it is very, very important. Okay, that is about recent space tech, SpaceX complete 11th Starship test. Okay. Next news that is about Google, Adani, and Airtel investment in Andhra Pradesh. That is, Google has committed to investing USD 15 billion. Okay, over the next 5 years, 2026-2030, to establish a large-scale AI data center hub in Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh. This hub will include a gigawatt-scale data center operation. And so subsea cable gateway, cable landing station, fiber optic network upgrade, and large-scale clean renewable energy and energy storage infrastructure. And also Google will partner with Adani, Conex, okay, and also Bharati Airtel in this project. And also the state government of Andhra Pradesh has signed MOU with the Google and partner of this hub. And also the hub is reported to be one of Google's largest AI investment outside the US. And also it is also noted that to secure the investment, Andhra Pradesh has had proposed secured favorable policy changes, tax incentives, and adjustment in national data center policy to accommodate such large investment. And also the project is expected to generate a significant employment, that is both direct and indirect employment, and catalyze ancillary industry, that construction, power, fiber optics, energy, all that. Okay. And also AI infrastructure sovereignty enabling ecosystem, multiple reflect global position of regional state development, Andhra Pradesh, all that perspective it is very, very important. Okay, so that is about recent Google, Adani, Airtel AI hub investment. Next news, there is about recent that is WHO alert on that is 3 contaminated cough syrups. The World Health Organization issued a medical product alert number 5 2025 regarding 3 oral liquid medicine cough syrups manufacturing in India, deeming them substandard contaminated. The syrups are Coldreef and Resfresh TR and Real Life. Contamination with the diethylene glycol of toxic chemical at levels far exceeding permissible limit. Also, these contaminated syrups have been associated with the death of children, right, in Madhya Pradesh. India drug regulatory, all that it is very important, and also in public health and safety regulatory and institutional accountability, credibility and confidence in Indian pharmaceutical industry, legal ethical accountability dimension, all that perspective it is very important. Okay, so that is about recent that names is important. Affected syrup, core fresh and TR. Okay, and also that contamination was with the diethylene glycol. It's an extremely high quantities, and also recognize the link to child death in Madhya Pradesh and understood about the WHO medical product alert. Okay, so that is about recent news. Next news that is about India that won the second test was West Indies and so the series 2-0. So India by beat West Indies by that 7 wickets in second test held at Arun Jaitley Stadium, Delhi. This win gave India a 2-0 series sweep. Okay, in the two-match test series, that is whitewash. Also, the target for India in the chase was 121 runs. KL Rahul played a key role in scoring unbeaten 58. Also, Shubman Gill and the Indian captain got his first series victory as a test captain. With that victory, India also bolted in standing in the World Test Championship points table. In the first test, India had dominated decisively, winning by an innings and 140 runs in just 3 days in Ahmedabad. A noteworthy performance in the test was Yashasvi Jaiswal 175 in India's first innings declaration of 518 for 5. Also, Kuldeep Yadav had strong showing the ball in the second test for that is 5 wicket for 82 runs and second 3 wicket that is 104 and was awarded player of match. Okay, and however post match India's team management including Gautam Gambhir voiced criticism about pitch in Delhi being too flat, not offering enough support for fast bowlers. Okay, all that importance. Okay, so that's about recent that India versus West Indies Test series. It's about 15th October 2025 current affairs. Thank you. Support me for further videos so that I can analyze all the topics required for UPSC and all competitive exams. Thank you.